All right, so it's not working out on the event live because it's too expensive to do multiple videos and they want you to just continue one long video, and that's not how I want to do it. I want to do it in parts. So I'm just going to do it regular way I do it and then upload them, and it takes a while to upload, but it is what it is. Okay, so I've got my grid. And again, let me use a darker colored pencil to show you where I'm at. And I'll use a darker pencil to do the sketching. So I've got a smaller circle in here, and I'm gonna give you the measurements in just a second, and a larger circle here. And in the inner circle, we're just gonna do concentric rows of dots, you know, spanning out. I wanna keep this design really simple for you guys. And then we're going to do some center work in between these two circles here. So the measurements are, that first circle is about 2.5 centimeters out from the center, and then the outer circle is 6 centimeters out from the center. And actually that's kind of big. We'll leave it. Okay, now I want to put 9 petals around here. I've done my grid lines with a 36 line grid. So to do 6 petals, 6 goes into 36 12 times. So I want to make a petal every, let's see, 6 doesn't go into 36, 12. 6 goes into 36 6 times. I want to make a petal every 6 grid lines. So what you want to do is open up your compass, put your point in the center, open it to where that outer circle is. Should already be there. Then pick a grid line that intersects on the outer circle and make half a petal like this up to that first circle. Then count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grid lines and do that again. And then 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do it again. And 6 more. Do it again. 6 more. Do it again. 6 more. Do it again. Then to close them, just go to the tip of each half petal that you just made, and that'll put you in the perfect spot to close those petals. So that should give you 6 evenly spaced petals. And play with your compass, you know, play around with it and see all the different kinds of, you know, you can move the needle in different positions to get different effect, different things, and you'll find patterns, and just play with it and make different arcs to make your petals in different patterns. Okay, so what do we want to do from here? Grab my pencil. I think would like to do something. I kind of want my center, I'm not sure yet. Let me play with my sketch pencil for a minute. Do I want to do more petals, or do I want to do some spiky things? there's my center. So swing that out to the, I'm just playing around with the design in light color first before if I did it that way. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is on one of the petals, I'm gonna kind of make some little offshooting petals off of these. I'm gonna start at the bottom of the petal. I'm gonna swing it just about to that center grid line. Mark your center. There's a center grid line in between these two petals. I'm gonna swing it just about out to that, and then I'm gonna come up to this grid line here. There's a grid line right here. Make a point, and then on the other side of that grid line, there's a grid line right here as well. I'm gonna just round it to that grid line, okay? Now, to make sure that we get even all the way around and that we've drawn it the exact same way, this is when you're gonna get your Mylar paper and a permanent Sharpie. I use a really fine point. And make yourself some grid lines on the Mylar. So I've got a grid line here going through the center of this petal. I've got the petal itself. I have the bottom. And I have the top. Okay? Then trace the petal that you just made. And then we're going to cut out along the shape of that petal that we're wanting to replicate. So I'm just cutting along just the petal, not the landmarks. Okay, so put it on the one you just made, make sure that it all lines up, and then flip it over. Line all your landmarks up. That was me. There it is. That was me. Stop. And then trace your petal. Like that. And you want to do that all the way around. So line everything up. So you're just making your own stencil, that's all. You don't need to buy those $300, $200 sets of stencils. Everybody can draw half a petal. I apologize for the dogs. every time I do this and I just play around, I end up with a different design, something new, and I just go with it. So this one's different. I haven't done this one yet, but you can do whatever you want. Whatever's interesting to you. Play with your compass, or forget the compass and just sketch with your pencil and use your Mylar to replicate it. Whatever you want to do for your center or for the whole thing is up to you. You don't have to follow this. I'm just here to show you the techniques to maintain your symmetry and get the same effects that I get. Okay, so there we go. There's a center. And I'm going to stop it at that point, and because what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to come in with my cone here and put tiny little white dots around this circle. You don't have to use a cone. You can just, and then I'll do some rows of some dots in a yellow gradient up to this grid line, up to this circle here is probably what I'm going to do with this space. So let me go ahead, and that being said, and you don't have to do the ring of tiny dots with a cone. You could micro dot some dots with whatever tool you use to do, tiny dots. It just takes longer if you're not using a cone. Or you could skip that part and just do your rows of your gradient dots in a larger size. But because I know I want to put that there, I'm not going to put design in that space. So I'm going to mark off where my next circle is. It's there, you just can't see it. And actually, it depends on how many rows of dots I want to do. Do I want like a nice big row? And I think I actually do. So I'm going to come out a little bit further, because I want to keep this one simple so it doesn't take us 100 years to get through. So let me get rid of that. And I'm going to bring this next circle out. I guess I could go all the way to... So I'd like to take these rows of dots from the yellow into the yellow-green gradient. So I'm going to just come out to this circle here with them. So this is where my next circle is. And measuring, that is 8 centimeters out. Okay? So skip that space, and then we'll design out here now. And again, I'm going to be using my sketching pencil at first because I'm kind of playing around until I land on what I'm happy with, and then I'll switch to the darker pencil and we'll do the stencil. All right, now whatever design I'm going to put, I want the center of it to be in between these two petals. So I'm going to want to use, wish I had, surely have another. There's a dark one. So I want to come down this grid line here. I'll be sorry I did that because it's never going to wipe off. And then I think I want to use 4 sections. So I'm going to be working between here and here, out here. I put them in there that way, then I can cover them up with dots if I can't get them off. But I'm working, oh, that's not center, is it? 1, 2, 3, Whoopsies. This isn't right. This one needed to come over. Here we go. So I'm using up four sections with this in my center. All right, so we'll just make a regular mandala petal now. And where you want it to end, I'm just gonna pick a circle that I already have. Okay. So now, make it a little tighter. So now it's just a matter of our Mylar sheet. Mark, here's a grid line. Here's our bottom. No point to mark this grid line or this grid line because we're getting ready to cut them off, but you can do the inside one. There's a grid line. And there's a cross. Okay, so sketch what you just did, and I wanted it to be a little bit sharper of a curve than I had done. There we go, that's what I want. And cut it out. And I'm not going to go all the way around the board with this. I just want you to get the technique. I'm cutting out my petal. Okay. And let me see if I can get some of this off of here. It's never going to come off this dark pencil. I want to see if I can get it off before it sets in too much. It's coming off. All right, so I'm going right here. Oops, wrong way. There we go. All right, so check your landmarks. I've got my cross there. I've got this grid line here. And trace your petal. Flip it around, flip it over. Line up your landmarks. Very important. And trace the other half of your petal. And you're going to do that all the way around. I'll do just one more. And this way they're all exactly the same shape. They're all exactly the same size, height, width. As long as your grid is accurate, you'll have the same space in between, etc. So do that all the way around, and now let's keep sketching. The board is stuck to my... I had paint wet on the other side. There we go. Okay. So what do we want to put here? Let's see. I tend to like these neat little... Let me just play for a minute. It's too much of a horn for me. Let's see. And then if I do that, and I can, I'm just thinking ahead for a minute, so just ignore me. And we could do circle here. All right. All right, this works. So I'm just going to draw some of these interesting, that's not the pencil I want. Kind of toppers. Just like that. Meeting at the grid line, that'll fill up this space in between. And you see, well, you might not see, what I'm ultimately gonna have for the design is this. And I'm gonna come in here with another one. So it'll look like that. It's kind of like an interesting petal on top of a petal. So you have two ways that you can do the stencil. You can cut out this part and this part, and then draw in that center line around, which is probably what I'll do, but you do run the risk of not getting that center line perfect every time and having the exact same space on both. So we'll do it a two stencil way on this one. So I'm just going to use this petal as my reference, as a landmark. And this grid line and that grid line. All right, so what I would probably do, especially as if you're just starting out with this, is I would do this stencil first and cut it out and go around and trace that one, and then come back and do the second part of it as a separate stencil. Okay, so check and make sure that it all lines up, and it does. So flip it over. Trace it on the other side. And go all the way around the board with that. And that also will leave us a little bit of negative space in between here, so that that pretty gradient on the background stays visible. So you can still see, you know, when you're going to all the trouble to make these backgrounds really pretty with the blended gradient, you don't want to then cover it with so much art, so much top dotting work, that, you know, what was the point of doing the background, because you can't see it anymore. So you want to be able to have some negative space is a good thing. All right, and now we're gonna go to the second part of that petal there. So I've got a grid line here. Got my petal. I've got this petal. Just marking everywhere that I can line it up so I can for sure get it you know, symmetrical. And then there's the part we're gonna cut out. Just gonna cut out that outer shape, just one side of it. And use that now to finish our petals. So line everything up and follow that shape around to give you the rest of that petal there. All right. And of course, do that all the way around the board. Okay. And we're now to the outer work area. So we could make more petal, another petal out here. We could make an arc, you know, a pretty circle arc. Let me think it through for a minute. See, and I'm also, when I make my designs, I'm thinking about what space it's going to leave me to, like, here, if I do a circle here, and I'll probably use my compass to do it, but if I did a circle, an arc here, get on the board. If I did an arc here, that would leave this space here to fill in with design. And I think I actually like that. I would put some brush strokes in there. That's a nice space for brush strokes. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make some arcs. I'm gonna get my compass probably and try to find the right place to put it to do that. And that's perfect. So if I put it in that center guideline, you probably can't see it. The guideline right between the two petals, so right here, where it meets that circle that I made for my center. Open it up to where you want your circle to end. I'm ending it on a guideline circle that I had made. And it should take you perfectly from petal to petal in a nice arc. And then you go over and do the same thing to the next one. Again, it should give you a perfect arc where you're wanting it. And we'll do that all the way around between these two petals. And then for the outermost, I am gonna do rows of green gradient dots. So very simple design on this one. It's just about technique. I didn't wanna get, you know, bogged down in too much design. And that's how I sketch them. So go ahead and feel free to do your own sketch, or use mine, whatever, and finish filling it in. I'm gonna finish filling mine in, and then we'll move on to outlining. All right, guys, bye-bye.